everyone. This is Bobby Valentine and Frankie Rampant bringing you the Bobby Valentine to Hanashi Show. And I hope everyone had a great week because I did for sure. I happened to be in Tokyo for the week watching the Dodgers and the Cubs play, seeing the Tokyo Giants and the Hanshin Tigers, and even going out to Marine Stadium and seeing an exhibition game over with the Chibalote Marines. It was really a special week for me. Frankie, how was your week this far?
Well, not as good as yours, obviously, Bobby, heading out to the Tokyo Dome in the Tokyo series. That must have been amazing. But 2 games under our belt in the regular season of MLB happening in Japan. I was up bright and early watching those on my TV. But Bobby, how was the hype? How was the scenes in Japan leading up to this game and during this game, these 2 games?
Well, Frankie, I see that you're wearing a samurai uniform, Japan samurai uniform. Spectacular. Oh, yeah. You have that on. Yes. And I just want to mention I'm wearing a gift that I got from all my friends at Bobby Valentine's Sports Academy in Stamford, Connecticut. And it happens to be my original jersey, the one that I wore in 1971 when I was with the Dodgers. It is a Dodger week. And I want to just show this is the original. That's how you prove it's the original. That's the mark that says it was Valentine's uniform. He was number 2. It was in 1971. Holy cow, a long time ago. But it was a Dodger-centric week over in Tokyo, no doubt about that, with Yamamoto and Sasaki and Ohtani all displaying proudly the Dodger uniform. And Frankie, everywhere I went, there were people wearing Dodger uniforms. The Dodgers have captured the imagination of the country of Japan, mainly because of Ohtani, who was on every billboard you could see, advertising every product you could imagine. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience for me to be there with those 2 major league teams. And you got to see the games. What you think so far? So good, huh?
Yeah, Dodgers look so good so far, on pace, 162-0, 2-0 after the first 2 games in Tokyo. Ohtani ripped a couple baseballs about 110 miles an hour in the first game. Yamamoto looked very good on the mound. He picked up the win in game number 1. They looked very good. I believe they won the first game. What was it, 4-1? And then game 2, Loki Sasaki made his debut as a Dodger debut in the major leagues. Looked a little bit nervous, a little bit out of command with his fastball, but splitter was absolutely electric, diving every which way, left, right, anywhere you want it. Looked unbelievable. And the Dodgers ended up winning again, and Ohtani homered in game number 2 because, of course, he did. Why would he not?
Yeah, Ohtani's so special. You're right. I was there for the exhibition game. I saw him hit his first home run in Japan, but that one did not count. This one did count. This is a 4-bagger against the Cubs, his first home run hit outside the United States. I think he's going to hit many more in his career because baseball is the international sport now, and it's going to be played in many countries. And I think the Dodgers will be featured many times. But to see the absolute spectacular athlete playing in his home country before his home fans, but even though many of the fans actually in the dome, at least half of them, I would think, were gaijin, were foreigners who were watching their first game ever outside the United States. And he did not disappoint. Ohtani is so special. Yamamoto looks spectacular. And hey, for a 23-year-old, Loki Sasaki, let's put it in perspective. To be flying and being in spring training in Arizona, then to fly back to his home country to see friends and family, which in itself is very tiring and very exhausting, trying to tell everyone what it's like to be in America for the first time, to be with the Dodgers, and then to get on the mound and to pitch. People said he looked nervous. I said, I hope he looked nervous because I was nervous for him. But he was throwing 100 miles an hour. He had the split finger, as you mentioned, that people are going to swing and miss at all year long. His command was not there. And again, it should not have been there. This is a really foreign situation for a spectacular young player. And there's nothing but bright lights ahead for him. That was a great performance. Even though he walked 5, even though he didn't go 5 innings, so he did not get the win officially. Yamamoto got his first win of the season, first of many, I believe. But he did not disappoint. He looked good out on the mound and looked great in that Dodger uniform.
And I did read an article about Sasaki. He did say that he did feel a little bit nervous, but it was a good nerves that he liked. And as a 23-year-old myself, I could not imagine being in that situation, going back to your home country, making your first ever start in the major leagues in that sort of setting. Must have been crazy. Another thing you mentioned there, the Gaijins, about 50% Gaijin fans. I'm sure a lot of those were Dodgers fans, but still a lot were probably Cubs fans as well, with Shota Imanaga making his first start of the season and Seiya Suzuki roaming the outfield for the Cubs.
Yeah, one of the famous Cub fan, Bill Murray, was in the same hotel that I was in. He's a famous actor here in the States. Some people probably in the States remember him by Lost in Translation, the movie that he did, filmed in Japan years ago. And Bill's a big Cub fan. It was great to be with him for a little time in the hotel. But there's just so many people there who are excited about baseball, and that's what MLB's trying to do. That's what Guggenheim has done. Guggenheim, the owner of the Dodgers, their name was plastered on every backdrop of every interview. The Guggenheim G was on the sleeve of the Dodgers, and not only are the Dodgers becoming that international brand, but so are the people of Guggenheim. And, Frankie, while I was there, I mentioned I got to go to see our old team, the Chibalote Marines. I saw Yoshi Kantaku manage a exhibition game. He won the game. The Marines won the game. I got to see a lot of my old friends. And I also did a press conference with the Hall of Fame, where Ichiro will be inducted this July in Cooperstown, along with other major league players who are going to be inducted, including Richie Allen, who wore this same Dodger uniform that I did in 1971 when we were teammates together. I'm excited about going to Cooperstown. And the press conference with the president of the U.S. Hall of Fame and the president of the Japanese Hall of Fame and myself is going to be linked to this YouTube, to this podcast. So I recommend everybody watch that press conference, get to know what the Hall of Fame has to offer, because there will be an 1,800 square foot exhibit at the building in Cooperstown, which is going to display how the Japanese in U.S. baseball over the years, since the 1930s, when Babe Ruth and Connie Mack and others went to Japan to play a fabulous exhibition series, from then through Ichiro to Ohtani, and how it has had the two countries come together. It's really going to be spectacular. I had a luncheon with Kevin McCarthy, who is the ex-speaker of the House here in the United States, where he was excited about everything was happening with the relationship. So please watch that little video that will be on here about the press conference. And please think about putting it on your calendar to visit Cooperstown. This exhibit will be there for 5 years or longer. It really has a lot of great artifacts that explain and tell the story of the U.S.-Japanese relationship on the baseball field and off. There are other players who played here in Arizona. I missed the week of Arizona ball, but this is the last week of spring training. Frankie, how did things kind of wrap up in Florida and Arizona for the Japanese players who are playing MLB this year?
So most of the Japanese players, a lot of them pitchers, getting their last starts in before the season begins. Yusei Kikuchi threw his last outing the other day on Friday, threw 5 innings, allowed 4 hits, 1 earned run, walked 2, struck out 5 in that game. Looked pretty good. His last tune-up before the season starts. He'll get the ball on opening day on Thursday.
Opening day in Chicago. It's going to be cold. It's going to be probably a crowd that's not real happy playing the Chicago White Sox, who lost 121 games last year, but look much better this year, even though their record doesn't show it in spring training. I think they're a much improved team, and the Angels and Kikuchi have to be ready for a surprise attack and have to bring their A game in order to get through a 3-game series in the cold, windy city of Chicago.
And you always want to start the season off on the right foot. So that series against the White Sox, extremely important for the Angels.
Interesting that the Cubs and the Dodgers started the season, and the Angels and the White Sox started the season. Those are 2 teams in LA and 2 teams in Chicago. Interesting how the schedule maker put them together.
Yeah, funny how that worked. Another city that has 2 teams in one, New York, the New York Mets. Kodai Senga, looking to return from injury last year, only started in 1 game after going through an injury. Made his last start against the Washington Nationals the other day. He was 1-0 this year in the spring training. He threw 2 innings, only allowed 1 hit, struck out 6, and only walked 2. So Kodai Senga looking to bring that ghost fork pitch back into the fold this year. Hopefully he gets through a healthy season for the Mets.
Yeah, the Mets are one of those teams that are going to be knocking on the door. They expect to be in the playoffs, and Senga expects to be a big part of their playoff run. Of course, they're in the National League, and they're going to have to go through the Dodgers, but that's something we're going to talk about all season long.
Yeah, those Dodgers are going to be there all year long, like we saw in Tokyo, already getting things started with 2 wins. Couple Japanese pitchers recovering from injuries throughout this spring training. Yu Darvish, notable Japanese figure, has been great for a long time. Long career in Japan, or not a long career in Japan, but very, very good young career in Japan for the Nippon Ham Fighters. Came over here. He's been great for about 12 years now in the MLB, or 10 years in the MLB. So hopefully he'll be able to get healthy, have another season under his belt, still out there in San Diego.
Yeah, Darvish being the senior member of the Japanese pitchers who are here. San Diego, another one of those teams here in the MLB who will be fighting with the Dodgers for a playoff spot and possible run through the National League into the World Series. And Darvish will be a big part of it. Of course, when Darvish was pitching for Nippon Ham, he kept the Chibalote Marines from having 3 or more championships, beating us in the playoffs 2 to 3 years that he was there during that run.
And I do have to say, some of my first memories ever of baseball as a little kid over in Japan was watching Yu Darvish carve up the Marines. He was unbelievable. And I remember just, no, not this guy again, every time he pitched against us.
That's how they worked it out, and it worked out well for them. Who else do we have, Frankie, on display in the spring training for MLB?
Another player we're going to talk about a little bit, Seiya Suzuki. He was not in spring training, but he played in Tokyo for the Cubs. Did not have the greatest opening series in front of his home fans, but now has a little bit of a couple more games to get right before going over in the regular season. Not sure exactly where the Cubs start off this year, but looking to get himself ready after this last couple games in spring.
Yeah, you remember who he was hitting against. He was hitting against his Japanese counterparts. A lot of pressure on him as well. Iganaga pitched extremely well, probably pitched better than any of the Japanese pitchers in that series. Got taken out because of a pitch limit, because it's still spring training. But he had the Dodger hitters on their heels the entire day.
And one person we also talked about a few times throughout this series, Tomo Sugano. He's finished up a very, very good spring for the Baltimore Orioles. And he's also worked on his golf swing a little bit with Adley Rutschman, getting to know his catcher, going out to the links a little bit with him, gaining a relationship, hopefully getting more integrated to the team of the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, it's great you mentioned that, Frankie, because so many pitchers here in the MLB take their golf clubs when they go on a road trip. In Japan, that's unthinkable that during the season they would do something other than concentrate 100% on baseball. Well, pitchers in Japan, not many position players, but pitchers who are not pitching on a road trip will play golf, and to get a swing tuned up is something that Japanese pitchers enjoy while playing in the major leagues. We'll talk about that more during the season.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll be able to get that golf swing going, play with Adley and the guys, and get themselves going throughout the season. But yeah, so these guys all wrapping up their spring training work, getting themselves ready to go for a long, long season. Already seen 2 games, but regular season starts on Thursday, opening day, the official opening day where everyone's playing. Can't wait to sit back and watch all those games on Thursday night and get the regular season started.
Yeah, the regular season will start, but let's mention something that the Japanese threesome did. The 3 pitchers from the Dodgers all threw a sushi dinner for the entire team at their hotel during that Japanese series. I got to eat some great sushi and some great food while I was in Japan. And you know, having dinners together is a tradition here in the States, where certain pitchers and players who are making a lot of money will take many players out for dinner. Well, this was the entire team that was taken out to dinner, which was really a spectacular event for the Dodgers, not only for camaraderie, but also for that show-off situation where the players of the Dodgers got to eat some spectacular sushi while they were in Japan. I looked around the ballparks and found that, you know, in the Tokyo Dome and at Marine Stadium in particular, the food was so much better than it is in MLB at ballparks. It was unbelievable. I had some spectacular tempura shrimp and some noodles at the Marine Stadium where, you know, if they had that at any stadium in the States, there would be lines around the corner. So eating was part of my week. Eating is going to be part of this entire show, because when the guys go on the road in particular, there are a few restaurants that specialize in the correct way to make rice and the correct way to serve a Japanese meal. And I think most of the Japanese guys who will experience American food will want Japanese food before they're pitching and before they're performing. And in some cities, that's a challenge. So we'll talk about that as the season goes on. But all I could say is I had a wonderful week. It was so good to be back in Japan. I saw so many friends during that press conference. Nakasone Shun, who was my interpreter with the Marines while I was there, was the interpreter during the press conference, which was really fun to sit beside him again and hear his voice. You'll hear him translating everything that went on, and so many other people, including the members of the Chibalote Marines baseball team. So, Frankie, you were mentioned. Your dad was mentioned. There were a lot of great memories that we talked about while I was with the guys over at the Marine Stadium. I'm looking forward to this week's spectacular action of Major League Baseball until next week. Frankie, unless you have anything else.
Well, next week we'll be talking about real full slate of baseball, everyone playing this week. So next week, be back for that one. Really excited for it.
Well, so make sure you're with us. This is presented by Steel Sports, and it's called, Bobbie Valentine to Hanashima Show. So come and see us next week. Thanks for being with us.